About 10 years ago now, I was introduced to something that would
forever change how I made music. Forever.
How's that for a dramatic hook? But of course, I am talking about samples. My creative world really opened up when I started to learn all of the different ways that you can use samples to add to your song's production. So in this video, I want to show you some of the different ways that you can use samples in your music. Hopefully this video will help you adopt some new techniques that will improve your music. The first way that I will use samples is for idea generation. So a lot of times what I will do is I'll come up here and I will search by instrument. We'll go keys. Let's also pick a genre just to narrow things down a little bit further. Let's just go soul. So that's really cool. So what I'll do next, I'll download this sample. We'll bring this sample into the DAW. Let's say we wanted this to be 100 BPM. So now we can take this, we can time stretch it. If you are in Logic, you are just gonna hold down your Option key and then drag your region. You can also pitch shift this. So if you're in Logic, you are gonna hold down Option and you are just gonna press your up arrows. And from here, I might just chop this up and rearrange it a little bit just to kind of continue to make it my own. Let's throw this back in there. The other thing you can do is throw your sample into a sampler. So if you're in Logic, just drag your sample down over here. Quick Sampler is going to be the easiest one for you to use. Come over here to Slice, and then just take your sensitivity down. What we're aiming for is 1 line per transient. So we'll bring this up a little bit until we get all of our transients, a couple more. And then personally, what I like to do is just throw these all on the white keys. The other thing you can do is click this, have this set to follow tempo. Now you can use a MIDI keyboard, for example, to play in different parts of your sample. And once you get that initial idea the way that you like it, you can start adding in drums, adding in other instruments, and an idea will start to come together pretty quickly. Real quick, I just want to share something new that I'm offering for a limited time. This channel has always been about sharing what I've learned or what I'm learning with all of you as we collectively pursue this love of making music. And for a limited time, I'm going to open up some one-on-one video calls or consultations. For those of you who are looking for some extra help, we can talk about songwriting, music production, content creation, monetizing, and building a personal brand. These are the skills that I've mastered to make music my full-time career, and I would love to help you do the same. So if that's your goal, you can find more info in the video description, and I look forward to chatting with you. Let's get back to the video. Song starters are multi-part samples, and what I like about them is you can usually find the individual stems that make up the song starter. With more parts, you just get a lot more flexibility. You have a lot more arrangement possibilities. So let's go back into Lander Studio. We'll search for song starters and refine by genre. Let's go to this sample. And if we come up here to our search bar, type in 1969. Here we have all of our individual stems right here in this sample pack. So now if we download these stems and we bring them into the DAW, we can time stretch these and pitch shift them and then play with the arrangement a little bit. I'm going to add in a drum loop. And now we have the start of a new arrangement. Let's take a listen. So now that I have the start of an idea, my next step would be to take like these guitar parts out, maybe take this bass part out as well. Because those are instruments that I play, I would probably put down my own part that's maybe inspired by the samples that are already there. And the goal is to continue to make this song my own. I want to use the samples as a starting point to kind of get some ideas flowing, but ultimately end up with something that sounds different than that original song starter. So those are a couple of ways that I would use samples to start an idea. But a lot of times what I'm doing is I'm taking a song idea that I already have and I'm using samples to kind of build that out. So let me show you what that looks like. So here I have kind of the early sketches of a song. I've got my chords down here on keys. I've got some bass laid down as well. I've even started playing around with some guitar ideas and even a couple of vocal things as well. So really, really early stages. And typically I would get to this point while also using a drum loop. It's usually one of the first places I start with like drums and chords, or sometimes even drums and bass. But for this example, I wanted to show you how I use samples to build out my drum production really from scratch. Now, sometimes I will find a drum loop that I really like that just fits the song perfectly as is, but more often than not, what I am doing is I am starting with a kick and snare one shot, and I'm kind of building out my own pattern as I hear it. So let's start there. For this song, I'm just really thinking something simple. I'm gonna get a lot of the rhythm, I think, from some different percussion elements. I like to arrange my one shots right on the workspace like this, but you could also drag your one shots into a drum machine or into a sampler and play them out on a MIDI keyboard if that's something that feels a little more inspiring to you. Now, next, I like to move on to hi-hats and cymbals. So I will obviously do my hi-hats, but any open hi-hat one-shots that I want to throw in there or cymbal crashes, I'll kind of cover all of those bases in this next step. And with hi-hats, I typically like to find a loop. Those tend to work better for me as opposed to grabbing a one-shot and mapping it out across the timeline. So let's drag this in and take a listen to how this sounds. What I am going to do to add a little bit of life and some dynamics is add in some percussion. So let's check that out. The next thing I like to add in are drum fills, tom hits, just things to kind of help us transition from one section to another, or sometimes break up a really long verse or chorus. Now, the last thing I like to add to my drum production are effects. So these are things like risers, little glitches. Sometimes you could even use like a gated snare as an effect rather than like the actual snare itself. Now, once I have my drum production locked in, I'll start taking a look at my arrangement and seeing kind of where the gaps are. So I'll bring in instrument samples, little vocal chops, stuff to add texture, just to kind of add some ear candy and keep the listener engaged throughout the course of the song. Well, all right, my friends, that is going to do it for today's video. Don't forget to visit the video description for that Lander Studio discount or to book a call with me if that's something that you're interested in. I am Patrick. I will see you all in the next video. Peace.